It's time to get hyped. A new Metroid game may have just been leaked from an unlikely source, that being the Brazilian Ministry of Justice and Public Security. I'll explain. This was first caught by Necro Felipe of Universo Nintendo, saying Brazil's Ministry of Justice and Public Security leaks existence of Metroid Ravenous for the Nintendo Switch 2 via classification rating. Listing already deleted from the Brazilian system indicates 2026 as the production year. I don't think that means the game only started development this year. It's been 5 years almost since Metroid Dread, and if we assume that this is being developed by Mercury's team, who also developed Dread, then we could possibly see this game pretty soon. Maybe not this year, because I think Nintendo's calendar year is already pretty filled, but I could totally see it coming out next year. So this was such an interesting news story to drop on the day that PlayStation announced that they're only doing digital games starting in 2028. Not like those news stories are really connected or anything, but it was weird starting the day with such a big bummer of a news and then it just being flipped on its head, for me at least and other Metroid fans, by this accidental leak of this game called Metroid Ravenous. I'm not surprised that another Metroid game is in the works, because Metroid Dread was such a critical and commercial success. It is the best-selling game in the Metroid series, so of course they were going to do a continuation of it. And of course we don't know what kind of Metroid game this is for sure. We don't know who's developing it. We don't know if it's going to be a side-scroller or it's going to be a 3D game or some kind. I don't think it is going to be a 3D or even a first-person game, because Metroid Prime 4 is only 7 months old at this point. They're not coming out with a new Metroid Prime game anytime soon. So the timing just makes me think that this is going to be the next entry in the mainline 2D Metroid series. Also, that title is really good, and I hope it's not a working title. Metroid Ravenous? That's just a badass name right there. More badass than Dread even. I don't know, come to think of it, Dread is just a really good subtitle in general, but Ravenous kind of fits that intense wordage subtitle, if that makes sense. Some people have brought up the fact that it being called Ravenous may tie into the antagonist of Metroid Dread, that being Raven Beak, because, you know, Ravenous, Raven Beak. I don't know if I believe that, really. It really seems like, spoiler alert for Metroid Dread, it seems like Raven Beak was just officially dead in that game, but who's to say, really? Anyone can come back at any time in the Metroid series. I mean, look at Ridley. There's really nothing to go off of on this title except pure speculation. Maybe this is just a working title, it's going to be called something different, but just the fact that this was accidentally leaked by the Brazilian Ministry of Justice and Public Security? I have to keep looking at that name because I'm going to forget it all the time. Yeah, just because it was leaked by such an official government entity makes me think, yeah, this is real, and the fact that it was deleted, definitely real. This thing is happening. It's not going to happen this year because, again, pretty full year for Nintendo. Next year, though, almost guaranteed. Maybe it'll be revealed in a September Nintendo Direct, and that would just be so awesome. Of course, though, we'll see it when it's ready, and just the fact that I know it's a real thing makes me very excited, and I know we're not going to have to wait for it as long as we've waited for Metroid Prime 4, unless it does get restarted internally, but I don't think that's going to happen either, and it's got to be developed by Mercury's team, right? Because they just made a huge success with Dread. Naturally, they're going to want to be hired for another success potentially. I know there's a lot of drama going on at that studio, so that's always a bummer to see, but there's no denying that there is some really good talent at that studio that Nintendo is going to take great advantage of. I just know it. But that's not all. Oh no, that is not all, because Andy Robinson of VGC said the following on Twitter. More than one of these are coming, I'm told. We eating Metroid fans. More than one Metroid game? More than one? We fans are just so used to being starved of content, we can't imagine the possibility of more than one Metroid game being in the works. That's just crazy to me. Yes, I know Dread and Prime 4 were both technically in the works, but it was just like, when Dread was announced, it was only like 4 months before it came out, so just the fact that there's probably going to be more Metroid games beyond Metroid Ravenous is just like, Oh, of course, Andy did not clarify on what he meant by this. He didn't specifically say what we're in for in the future, but you gotta think that the other thing in the works is that rumored Super Metroid remake. I've heard time and time again that Super Metroid does not need a remake. It is perfect as is, and I gotta say, like, have you met the younger generation of gamers? They are not as, how do I put this? They're not as tolerant of dated game design as we old heads are. Super Metroid does play great. Super Metroid is very, very good. I say it is better aged than most games, but I gotta imagine that anyone playing this game fresh off of playing Dread, they might get a little frustrated at the different controls, at the floatiness of them, really, maybe at the difficulty of the bosses, because this is a very difficult game. The last time I did play Super Metroid, I must confess, I did use that rewind feature quite a bit. It's a pretty tough game by today's standards. And you know, that's the case for a lot of games back in those days. And a lot of younger gamers, even ones that are like a little younger than me, are way less patient with that sort of thing. So I think coming out with Super Metroid Remake, potentially in the Dread engine with Dread's controls, could be a really cool idea. I mean, look at what Mercury Steam did with Metroid 2. Like, Metroid Samus Returns was a huge upgrade, in my opinion, from the original Metroid 2. And I say upgrade, I know that may sound a little like I'm punching down when it comes to Metroid 2, but even the hardcore Metroid fans have to admit that that game is really tough to pick up and play by today's standards. Metroid Samus Returns came in, gave us a map, gave us the melee counter move, which was just vastly improved in Metroid Dread, and I really loved that game. I thought it was really good, and you know, they just made an even better game with Dread, so to give them a shot, or maybe even another developer a shot, at a Super Metroid remake, I'm all here for that, dude. Like, yeah, Super Metroid is widely considered to be the best Metroid game. I actually prefer Dread over Super Metroid, but that game is just so iconic, and to give it a remake for a younger audience to come in and play it with, you know, Dread controls, more accessibility options, checkpoints even, then I welcome it. And you know, if longtime Super Metroid fans don't like this remake, then they can still play the original. It doesn't mean it's gonna get erased. But I could speculate on and on and on about the future of Metroid. I just know that Metroid Ravenous is now a thing that we can look forward to, hopefully in the near future. And of course, a Super Metroid remake is a possibility, although that is way less concrete. I also heard rumors about a Metroid movie, which I'm hesitant to believe because Metroid's not a huge franchise to turn into a movie, in my opinion. I would love to be wrong though, and we get a really cool Metroid movie in the next few years, but I'm hesitant to get excited for one. But those are pretty much my thoughts on these Metroid Ravenous rumors and these other rumors that indicate a solid future for the Metroid series. I just felt like getting on camera to talk about Metroid. I haven't really done that in a while. Like, I've done it a few weeks ago when I talked about Prime 4's sales, but now I'm just kind of getting more excited for the future of the series. I'm not dying for anything huge anytime soon because we just got Prime 4, which was a game I've waited my the entire decade of my 20s for, and I know it was disappointing in some aspects, but I'm just grateful it's out now. I'm grateful I played it. I'm grateful I can move on to something else, and it seems like Metroid Ravenous is going to be the next thing I'm going to be pretty excited for. But let me know what you think of these Metroid Ravenous rumors in the comment section down below, and if you like what you see here and you want to stay subscribed for more gaming and Metroid content, then subscribe and hit that notification bell because it helps me out. Hit that like button too. I love you. But not as much as I love my beautiful Ferris Wheel members for supporting me and my channel. If you want to become a member to get early access to some of my uploads, well, be sure to hit that join button down below. But until next time, bye-bye.